And then also we talked about how they probably might feel a little bit more like out of place, especially in like their friend groups, because of so much more responsibility in their family, they might have to take a step back from their like friendship relations. So like, I can't hang out today. I have to pick up my younger sister, something like that. So like, kind of dealing with that issue, and then it's gonna be. That's like part of the reason why it's like good for them to come to campus, because then they could have that time to they're not the ones dealing with, so they can just be a kid again, but also like just kind of like let loose and have fun, essentially.
Exactly, and as you kind of see from this discussion, even though like every kid has been affected by a parent's cancer at camp, everyone's experiences look differently, and within your own cabin, you're going to see such a range of experiences that excuse me, will affect the way like the kids experience camp and how they interact and sort of what comes forward with that. So as counselors, it's really important to keep this in mind. Just like trying to remember that when you're talking to a camper, like the kind of like what they're bringing with them to camp. So next we can kind of stay in our groups and we'll have like a 2-minute discussion about just sort of the differences between what like one of the 6-year-olds is going to experience and like how their age is going to affect how they affect experience of parents' cancer compared to like the oldest group of teens. We just get together for like 2 minutes and talk about that.
What was the question?
So you'll be discussing how age affects their experience and like what might be different socially, like what that's gonna look like.
I mean, with someone who's 6, they probably won't understand it as well, and because of younger kids, it's harder to see like a finality of something. I don't know if that's a real word. Or, I mean, I guess an analogy is, oh, you moved to a new house, and the kid is like, okay, this is great, when do we go back? Like, that can maybe be the same thing with their parent. Like, oh, like, dad's hair is falling out and he's looking, like, sick. Like, they probably just understand it as he's sick, but when does it get better? So they don't necessarily understand that.
Yeah.
They probably also like less experience dealing with their emotions. Like a 6-year-old kid is like doesn't really know how to like understand and like feel the emotions that like they might have due to that. Whereas like an 18-year-old like they've dealt with this like internally for like a long time.
Yeah.
Kind of on top of that, what Daisy was saying last year at camp is that, like, about empowerment, she was saying, like, younger kids kind of, like, pick up on cues more for, like, how they're supposed to feel. So I think they might have to, like, be aware of that and don't, like, try to not be just, like, really sad about it and, like, be more optimistic or, like, not necessarily optimistic and, like optimistic sounding at least. Don't, like, bum the kid out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like,
Yeah.
The kids don't, not that they don't know how to feel, but you govern a lot of how they react to situations, and so like how you interact with them based upon what you tell them is super important, because if you do exactly what you said, if you are really depressed about the situation, like, they will mirror that image. That's why kids cry. Like when one kid cries, like 20 kids cry, it's because they're just like, they take that as a social cue of like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to emote in this situation. So like,
you definitely see that with like siblings, especially there at camp. Like the older and younger siblings, you can totally see it with them.
Yeah.
So then for like the majority of campers who don't have an older sibling there, like they do like look to us for that same thing. So it's definitely like a effect.
Yeah, for all the new people, we throw our coyotes. We need everyone to be quiet. So awesome. So we'll just have like a couple groups share like just some of the main points from the discussion about what that difference between the ages will look like. Does any volunteers?
Back to you were talking about the depth of like just how the reality of the stereotype of how like in the like teen group, like how you're really pushed into, you're not really have any childhood, like you really do the adult things. At least in when I was in teens, some of what they were sharing, they really were doing stuff that I wasn't even doing. When you have a parent who has cancer, you really take in responsibility, and just like the 6-year-old are doing stuff that you like they don't really know. And then I'm sorry,
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
I mean, like I've dealt with 6-year-olds the past 2 years with the Yobos and Yogis. So a lot of them are kind of like prone to make a lot of comments about cancer, but not really understand like the full grasp of what that means. So like, oh, you know, like dad's sick, he has cancer, and then like just kind of go from there. So they have the basic mindset of it, or at least the ones I've run into have, but they don't understand like the full like range of what that means for family or what that means for like siblings, so like that.
Exactly. Something we'll talk about more, sort of like meeting campers where they're at. And it's like, it's not our job to be like the cancer educators for these kids. It's our job just to support them wherever they're at in that process. So, Simba, did you want to share? Or is that?
Oh no, we're gonna say something.
It's one thing that our Daisy, our mental health professional, brought up last year after it was after empowerment, I think, when we were talking about it, that especially the younger kids, they'll take a lot of their emotional cues just from like how people around them are reacting. So that's something to be aware of when working with the younger kids, because like if they're telling you about their situation and you're like, you just seem like really depressed and like bummed out about it, like that will just like encourage like them feeling like that more. And like we don't want to just like send this kid into a spiraling depression. We want to like have them see the see the silver lining, I guess, or like I don't know, like see good parts of the situation and not just only the bad.
They brought a really good point in our group about how younger kids might have like different levels of knowledge as to what's going on, and that will cause like an interesting dynamic of like who feels in the loop in the family and some distance between siblings maybe.
Also, should we keep doing names?
Hmm?
Should we keep doing names?
That'd be great. As you guys
I
just
think-
like introduce yourself before you speak, it'll help us all learn each other's names a lot faster. We realized in all our groups, age does have an effect on that. And even if you're working with one group, you're going to be interacting with kids, like the whole group. Y'all, the oldest kids, like helping out. You'll be working with the little kids. You'll be interacting with everyone at all camp activities. So it's really important to keep that in mind, because you never really know like when a camper is going to need you in that moment, even if they're not like in your direct cabin. So next we're gonna these are just some common behavioral and emotional reactions some campers might have. This is probably not how some campers will just like this like some campers will display these more than others. Sometimes it'll just come out in a moment, sometimes it'll be more of a general attitude. So just some things to keep in mind that if they're like having this sort of behavior, it could be related to like what they've experienced. So they could be angry, they could be confused, they might be more withdrawn, they might come across as mean-spirited, they might need more attention or come across as clingy, they might be scared or a little fearful, or you might see this, them acting like inappropriately immature, especially if they haven't had, just based on their life experiences. So if you see some of these behaviors, let's have a big group discussion about sort of with the counselor what you can look out for, and then sort of what you can do to mitigate the behavior and help bring them back to the camp spirit. And one important thing to do, like to keep in mind also, we talked about this a little before, if you're ever in a situation where you're not really sure it's escalating, you don't really know what to do, Daisy's an amazing resource. You'll hear it from us now, you hear it from us later, but she's always someone you can get help from.
For like a clingy camper, it might have something to do with the fact that they don't get a lot of like adult or older attention back at home. And you can just remind them that like at Camp Kesem, we're all a family, like their friends are there too. So they don't just need to hang on to like one specific counselor, but we're all there for them as a group.
So Captain America. Yeah, I'd say like if they're angry or just like not or acting out or whatever, it's important to not be dismissive of them and not say, hey, like feel better, let's go play this game. Like it's important to acknowledge them, and maybe they don't want to share why they're feeling bad just because, you know, this is a tough subject sometimes, but it's important to acknowledge them as a person and their emotions and say that they're valid and kind of work through it, have an honest conversation. And like I said, maybe they just don't want to share, but it's okay to understand that it's okay not to be okay. And maybe once they realize, oh, you kind of understand, like, okay, I guess I'll like come and be a part of the group and whatnot.
Awesome. Yeah, Simba.
So
sometimes, like, when I read the first line, angry, I think of someone we had in our cabin, Layden. He like didn't want to like do anything. He like wouldn't do activities, and he was always like pretty angry. And trying to like just like trying to connect in any way is like super helpful, even if it's like super challenging. Because another one thing was when we would sometimes like try to like figure out like what his interests were outside of camp, he wouldn't want to talk about it. But then eventually when we like figured out he liked to read and we could like read to him, like that like helped mitigate his thing.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, like whether it's anger or like withdrawn, is usually it takes kind of like a one-on-one talk, and then once you find one thing that they really like doing, kind of like latch on to that. Like I had one camper who just like loved 9 Square, and he was like extremely shy, and so we just made sure to like getting 9 Square going, and he made a lot of friends that way. So just like finding something they like and running with that.
I'm Puddles, by the way. Last year, and this is pretty specific, but last year in the Pink Unit, we had a camper who Cheetah like wouldn't really eat that much at meals at all, especially like towards later in the week. And like I know it's not on there, but it kind of can be tied into the withdrawing part. And I think it's just important as us as counselors, like even though the food obviously isn't like the best, when you see like counselors react like you like to the food and stuff like that, I think it like makes the campers like want to do the same thing, and which like isn't that big of a deal a lot of the times, but for a camper who's not eating that much in the first place, like at all, she literally like a crumb of bread sometimes like during meals, and she just like we would like try to encourage her to eat more, and it was like it just like got kind of bad towards the end, but it eventually became a lot better. So I guess just being encouraging and like setting an example to yourself.
You brought up a really good point. As counselors, one of the most important things we can do is model good behavior for campers, model like positive, like the positive that we want them to experience here. We have time for like one more.
I'm Gumby, by the way. I think that just remembering with all of these traits, like in the moment at camp, it's gonna be easy to get impatient with campers, especially later in the week. And like, heard this phrase before with another camp I worked at, just kind of like the kids that are like the most difficult or like asking the most out of you are like the ones that need you the most. So like in the moment, remembering that, even though when a camper like is angry or like yelling at you, not yelling at you, but something like that, like just remembering that it's like due to all this stuff that they've been through. Like, I think if you remember that in those moments, you're gonna handle them a lot better than if you're just like really impatient or think it's just like a kid that's mad.
Exactly, and that's exactly the main point that we're hoping you get out of this module, is realizing that these campers have such a variety of experiences, and this might manifest in different ways towards you or at camp. And it's really important to keep that in mind, to sort of still be your best camp self, even when it gets difficult, because you're gonna have amazing camper moments, and some that might push you a little more, be a little more difficult, and challenge you to be out of your comfort zone a little bit. So keeping that in mind the whole time, and sort of the mission of why we're here, just to show a lot of love to these campers and be there for them and support them through this.
Also, just make sure to remember like when things are out of like actually out of your comfort zone, like you have the resources to go to, like you have unit leaders, you have the admin cabin, like program or what are the camp advisors. Like there's plenty of resources. Like if the situation is out of hand, or like if you see yourself getting angry at a kid, like remove yourself from the situation and like let somebody else handle it.
Exactly, there's always someone there who can help you and support you in that situation, and give you the resources you need to be an effective counselor, and to take over when it's like out of our, like what we can do. So thank you guys. That's all I have for you on Cancer 101.